very good evening to everyone. This is your host, Pramod Solanki. Welcome to the 9th edition of the Leadership Series, in which we have distinguished guests talking about their leadership journeys. For this session, I have yet another eminent corporate leader speaking about his leadership journey. And please join me in welcoming Dr. V.S. Parthasarathy. Namaskaram, sir. It's so good to have you. Been in touch for some time, and I'm very happy that we finally are here for the conversation. I'm going to be very brief with the conversation because in these 39 years and counting, Dr. Parthasarathy has packed so much that if you really want to highlight even, a little bit of everything, it will be pretty much consume the whole session. And therefore, I'm going to be very, very brief with his permission as far as introduction is concerned. And on many of those things, we will be talking as part of the conversation in any case. So there are two parts to his corporate career, which is about 36 years plus. The first 15 years are with Modi Xerox, where he joined as a management trainee, and with the dint of his hard work and contribution, he in those 15 years, he rose to the position of associate director. And I guess around that time, people in Mahindra would have spotted him, and they reached out and they took him on board. So the next 21 years of his career, corporate career, have been with Mahindra Group from 2000 to 2021. When he joined Mahindra Group in the year 2000, he headed the organizational transformation cell. And there are a number of things that have been done during that stint of as the head of transformation cell in the group, and we'll be talking about some of those in the course of conversation. So after those 4 years, he was picked up to head the international operations of the tractors business of Mahindra Group. And there again, in terms of number of countries where he successfully set up this business is phenomenal. It's something is still talked about. After 3 years there, from 2007 onwards, he headed the M&A cell for the Mahindra Group. And in that role, he contributed very, very significantly to the growth of the group through inorganic means and inorganic strategies. We'll talk about some of those as well. In 2009, he was inducted on the Group Executive Board of Mahindra Group, and he continued there through his career, and at a strategic level for the group, he naturally made very significant contributions there. From 2013 to 2020, he handled dual responsibilities, the group CFO and also group CIO. In 2021, the last 1 year, from 2020 to 2021, he headed the mobility service business of the group, again with a remarkable success there. During his 21 years with Mahindra, he chaired the board of many of the group companies and also was a director in many others in the group. After his tenure with Mahindra Group, he has remained as active possibly as he could have been, and he's an independent director in LIC of India, and there are a number of other listed and unlisted companies. He, at this point of his career, he is keen to contribute to the social sector, and his philanthropic activities are as much as anything else that he does. And he is on the board of two of the companies of SEWA, SEWA, as many of you would know, Self-Employed Women's Association, and he contributes to them in various ways. Because of the kind of accomplishments that Dr. Parthasarathy has had in his career, there are a number of accolades and awards that have naturally come along his way, and I would share a few of them. It's a pretty long list. He has received a Lifetime Achievement Award for his CFO and CIO roles, as also the Business World Yes Bank Hall of Fame Award, Best CFO of India Award by IMA Corporate Excellence Awards, Digital Icon of India Award by HPE, and CIO 100 Hall of the Fame by CIO after winning the awards for 4 consecutive years. He's been part of the think tank of the Ministry of Finance and has led committees in many of the professional bodies like FICCI and many others, as chairing many of their subcommittees and also an active member in many others. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is in nutshell about Dr. Parthasarathy. With that, Dr. Parthasarathy, I come to the first question that I placed to all the guests who grace this platform. And I welcome you here once again. And the very first question is about the person. The person, we know Dr. V.S. Parthasarathy today as a astute corporate leader and, someone who began his career, or let's say early recall, if you have even your teenage days, the kind of worldview you had, the way you looked at things around and the way you look at and deal with things around now. What do you think has changed? And what are various things that have shaped these changes, influenced these changes? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pramod Solanki. Thanks for inviting me. And it is a delight to be on this show. More importantly, it is also sharing that helps understand some of the nuances that happens. And hopefully I'll leave some tidbits for others to catch up on.
Please.
This is indeed a great question when you start by saying, what are childhood impacts that keep you throughout your life?
Right.
What do you think as naive notions in the childhood? Which of them has been dispelled in great one? So it's a question with duality in its question itself. Yeah. So I'll go back and just start by saying that my grandfather had a great path in shaping our futures. So he called my father and said, both you and your brother can't stay in the village because there's not enough land I have to give both of you livelihood. So one of you have to be kicked out of the village so that they can go to the town and then earn their own way. And because you are more educated, so my father got the choice of being kicked out. And what a boon it was. I didn't understand then and probably was a little bit upset as well. But over a period of time, it shows the kind of astuteness that is there and the tough decision making, tough love that comes in it. Another thing is that therefore my father went from station to station. So I keep joking around that there is not a state in India where I've not stayed. So I'm born in Chennai and Mehboob Nagar and brought up in India and curated by the world. That's how I describe myself. So kind of thing. So when you see different people go to different cities, meet different people, the culture, the kind of things affect you and ability. Second thing is, if you don't have permanent friends, then ambiguity is something that you learn to handle every day. There is no certainty. 2 years later, you have to form new friendships all over. So that is something that we all learn. What is more important is we learn to live by logic. So, when I first learned Hindi, it was in 5th standard. And it was great fun. So that, somebody said Sala is equal to sir. And I actually went and told that to my sir, and only because he knew that I didn't know Hindi, that I escaped. Otherwise, I would have got a good hiding. So, but if you ask me to kind of summarize the view that I formed over a period of time, I can say is that I started up life thinking like the first poem that my sir and I kind of coined, Aaya hu badi dur se, खाता हूँ करेला, मुझों पे ताव दे के लड़ता हूँ अकेला. So this is how I thought of myself, that I have to fight the big bad world.
Sure,
But,
sure.
what happened as I walked through is मैं चलता गया, लोग मिलते गए, कारवां बनता गया, और ये सफर हम सफर हो गया. So this has become a great journey.
Right,
And
right,
that's basically. So that's in nutshell what I kind of thought about your question.
Thank you, thank you. I clearly the school of hard knocks has shaped Mr. Dr. Parthasarathy in a very significant way, and the point that you make that it was astute thinking on the part of your parents that this is the way to prepare the boy for the world, and I think they have been proved right as we speak here. Thank you. Now. The very first stint at Mahindra's, where you joined at a kind of a leadership level, where you headed their organizational transformation cell. I'm sure there are many things you did there, but one of the things that stands out is the cost leadership initiative, as it was called, where you reduced the number of units, number of tractors produced from 52,000 to get to the break-even point to 32,000. So good 40% reduction to get to the break-even point. I mean, one has heard cost reduction initiative 5%, 7%, 11%, thereabout, but 40%. So this is something really not heard of very commonly. So tell us some highlights of things that contributed to this. There's a lot to learn for people from this.
Thank you. It was a very interesting phase in the life of Mahindra and my nascent life at that stage. I had actually joined as organizational transformation, as you pointed out to the viewers.
Right.
And I had nothing to do with accounts and finance, because I had requested that I had nothing to do with accounts and finance. Otherwise, I will never be able to do transformation. I will get back to the comfort zone of accounts and finance, not do it. So therefore, it was not part of my journey. But what happened is 6 months or a year into the journey, we suddenly realized that the tractor industry is going to crash about 40%. So and about 40% is anybody's guess, but it was a huge crash, which was in the thing. And that writing was on the wall. So the whole industry was supposed to make a huge loss. That's what was the anticipation. And my boss came to me and said, Partha, we have never made as Mahindra loss. And what do we do? So he said, sir, now that we have not made loss ever, how can we make loss this time? Let's at least give our best shot.
Sure.
So little did I realize that the best shot was me. He's going to put me up in the front and say, why don't you do this? Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
And he said, why don't you lead this initiative for me? Basically then we start about thinking that this is not one person's job. It is not going to happen that we're going to sit in some place, chalk out a plan and get this done. This has to be at the grassroots. So we did some tough things. Like we gave VRS for workers for the very first time and the last time in my lifetime. Yeah. And not a very happy one, but something that helped the people at that cusp to retire in peace. At the same time, gave us the cost advantage that we will get because their numbers have come down. We did also go about very simply, no recruitment against any attrition.
Right.
And managed to get from 400, 500 people reduction.
Right.
We went from 1,800 to 1,400 people.
Right.
So these are things which we could do on a macro level and did. But this was going to get us somewhat, but it is not going to get us to that 40%, not by even a chance.
Right.
So for that, what we did was we gave out a program which called Convert All Fixed to Variable and all variable reduction are out of the company. Yeah, so cost reduction. So this was the kind of slogan: fixed to variable, variable to this. So, and then we said every department, every division, every person should come out with what called a PAT from TPA, profit after tax from top priority actions. So you do some top priority actions and you'll get this. So so we formed this kind of thing, and we realized that, you know, we could save huge amount by energy saving, etc., etc. In fact, the fun thing was that they all saw us as newcomers, me included. So first recommended that all lifts be switched off because ours was on the fifth floor of that building. And that building was all of 5 floors.
Right.
And I was on the fifth floor. But I said, that's fine too, because, you know, they are saying save cost. And there is no cost saving without any effort. If I have to climb 5 floors, so be it. We did climb that 5 floors for some days before somebody actually got very annoyed. Yeah. So some old timer said, "This is nonsense. This is not my job." So and then things got to much better shape. Yeah, in terms of focusing on cost rather than focusing on new individuals.
That's right.
But what happened is we soon realized that our cost savings are going to come from what we can save from material cost. So material costs have to be saved significantly. So we actually put out all the parts of the tractor in the yard and said, how do we reduce costs on this? So we went to vendors, and much like the Tata Nano, when they won, they all said every one of us needs to contribute. We told all our vendors that this is one time where everyone needs to contribute because we don't want to make a loss, not because of us. You are so proud to be associated because you are always associated with a profitable company. So help us. So, and they did. I mean, you know, because it was a call to arms, and they're all dealers for so many number of years that loyalty was very high. Then what we did is, for example, only two examples. One is the radiator. We used to have steel radiators. Steel radiators cost a lot more. Aluminum radiator was the replacement option. And it was not only, it could cool better, but it also costed much lesser. Suddenly said, hey, go ahead, and somebody thought about this earlier. And it saved us 500 rupees a tractor in those days, which is not at all very this one. So we got that kind of saving. And somebody else said, you know, we put weights on the tractor in the front. We put steel weights. He said iron weights. And we said, why do we need iron weights or steel? Why don't we just fill sand in the casing? And that will get the weight as well. So, and that saved us $400. So, you know, those are the kind of big things that came out. Because we also got 4 new products, which you know, which was won the Innovation Year of the Year award as well at that time. But in those 11 months, we were like the team possessed. So if I say I did this, there's nothing can be worse wrong than that.
That's right.
We did many things. One of them was small, but when we put the collective of it together, suddenly the 40% was very much a reality. 32,000 break even, and the industry luckily didn't fall 40%, it fell 30%, 32%. So we made 100 crore profit.
You see, in that year
the
itself.
industry made a 500 crore loss.
In that year itself.
In that year itself.
That's right. So that was remarkable. So number of small things which together actually resulted in a big difference there. So an interesting piece of innovation by the entire team, really. So much to learn for others. Now, you know, setting up a business in different geographies, different cultures, different social, political, legal aspect, but you scaled it up very well. Just share some highlights from that role when you headed the international operations.
Okay. So as luck would have it, I became the self-appointed head of strategy for farm equipment sector.
Self-appointed.
And then I went to Anand Mahindra and shared a strategy for international operation.
Right.
And what I basically said is what we are doing is looking at the wrong places. We're going to Europe, which has very high horsepower tractor. We'll never get that horsepower tractor. And when trying to make it, we'll neither know the product nor the market. So why are we doing it? And therefore defined a 4-pronged strategy which says go to markets which are like India, so that where Indian products are is fit.
Right.
Like in US, there is small farmers who like our tractors. You can use it for their land. So hobby farming, they call it. So like that, we find markets and go, rather than try to go to Europe, which may be attractive if you have the right product, but India had the product nor knew the market. So
That's right.
no point in going. So we did select this one. So one of the key things, then the next thing we did is to say, whichever market we choose, we will choose to invest in that market and stay. One of the learnings I had out of it, that normally people say that strategy is half the victory won and execution is the other half. And if you have good strategy and good execution, you'll have a good outcome. I somehow felt that they are missing one major thing in that. It is strategy plus execution plus tenacity. The ability to stay on. Okay. So I'll give you an example. So we were in US and we were selling all of 1,000 tractors for a long time, though we were 20% lower than the next competitor.
Right.
Our tractors were much better in any way that we can think about. But basically the market was wondering whether these people will run away. Yeah, or whether they're going to stay. So we are wanting to test us for that. So when we have the tenacity and stayed on, then we realized that we can actually jump. So in my tenure, it went from 1,000 to, quickly to 10,000, and what can be called as 50 million to about 600 million. So kind of outputs there, $600 million dollars.
Right.
US. So which eventually went to closer to $1 billion, or should go to $1 billion.
Right.
But that's another dream, which is still to be performed. So the other one was to kind of say that we also need inorganic in these areas. China was such a market. So we said, rather than trying to get our products there, we could get a China company and say China for China, India for India, and world for both.
Okay.
So that kind of strategy, and therefore bought 2 companies in China.
Okay.
And both of them put together about 30,000 tractors they could sell. So that was the second part. And then, markets like Australia, where we went and said in just about 15 months, we had 10% plus market share in a market where even big old timers were finding it difficult to get that kind of market share. So we did, and then Africa, we bet on it big way. We use the government's grants, build factories there, not to build anything, so that they cannot use our tractors as sleeping bags, but actually tools to use in the marketplace and in the fields.
Right.
So we did all that, and all of them played. That's how we built some of these markets. But more importantly, I think if you come back, you will realize that it all rests on people. When I walked into the international operations floor, there was nobody in the floor because everybody was hiding. Here is the 8th CEO. Okay, so that's how frequent changes have been. And said, what are you going to do? You're going to again, do some of these, and we are going to go and make promises which will be very difficult to create. So I stood in front of them, got them together and said, let's make a 1 week, 1 quarter, 1 year, 1 decade plan. 1 quarter plan is you do what you're doing. I'm not touch you. And plus, please do sell. Yeah, so meet some numbers. We need our credibility. 1 year, I said, we will go to 2 to 3 new markets. And 1 decade, we will have 3 CEOs from this room. Okay. Heading operations. So when we get the China and the US and Australia all running, CEOs from India that floor. So it actually was a dream come true. In 3 years, I did what I promised I will do in the decade.
Right.
And it was a great kind of a thing. So people actually helped that. And they told us what happened. So, we had to learn about tractors first before we started selling tractors. They taught me that. They taught about the markets, that in international market, customers know us not, but competitors know us very well. So competitors thought us even before we can set foot, but customers will never know about us for a long time. So all this I learned as I went through it. So people helped me a lot.
This is another, something out of the box, really. Now your next step was, being inducted in the board for Mahindra Group, and of course also around that time, and also now, I know you are deeply into boards of many companies. So when you think about your role and the board's role when you were with Mahindra, and now, of course, a lot of water has flown over the bridge. How do you see the board's role in both of these? In one is providing strategic direction and business sustainability side, and the other is the governance side of it. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So, as Mahindra, one of the key things that was my role as I came on is to provide corporate nominees, people who will be on behalf of the corporate on the companies, to give them foresight, and some strategy, but more importantly, governance. Yeah. So that what we mean by governance in Mahindra is used by all those companies. Yeah. So this is how we thought about. So it was a very different kind of scene there, where in Mahindra, where this were kind of evolved, probably ahead of its time. Even if I have to say as a Mahindrite, but I think it was when I went out, I realized it was many years ahead of other companies who necessarily never thought like that. That we have to, we have to put a person so that governance is maintained. Yeah. Okay. So, but I also found the following. When you look at other companies, and I was involved in one form or the other, looking at other companies' boards, in the initial stages somewhat less, but later on somewhat more strongly. And I realized that initially board was the necessary will to have and tick the boxes and get the statutory thing done. Yeah. So if you have to pass a quarterly results to get it done.
Right.
And that's what the board is for.
Right.
Actually I call them managed boards. Okay. So it's been a managed board syndrome at the start of this journey. But India have actually honestly come a long way since then, and very nice. Even government has done its part. The corporates have played its parts, and more importantly, independent directors have played its parts. And now we have more of board managed companies rather than managed boards. Yeah, there are still a sprinkle of both. I can't say deny that, but the number of companies where it is board managed comes to it, and we see that in first governance, compliance, governance, the setting the tone, etc. More questions are being asked by board, and that is being understood and appreciated by management and done. Okay, strategy is work in progress. While they all say what happens next and what the big deal we need to do, it is strategies is somewhat directed. In most of the companies where I'm going now, a strategy session once a year is planned as an offsite. Okay. Which tells you that board does get involved in strategy. Yeah. But from a board point of view, to say, hey, here is the board's thoughts on strategy, that is not so much on the cards, as in here is management strategy, and let me challenge, add, support that to carry on. I think which is not wrong. not wrong.
Sure,
But
sure,
that's
sure. So nice way to put it, from managed boards to board managed organization. But even the strategy, like you say, you are seeing progress, and we have covered a lot of distance there. Yes. Thank you. That's an interesting take on this. Um, Now, if we look at the variety of roles that you have performed, uh, CFO, CIO, transformations, international operations, M&A, and then board and all of that. Uh, if you have to pick up two, three things that you think have helped you deliver and actually excel in all of these roles, if you were to share those two, three things, what would come to your mind?
Thank you. I keep saying, you have thought through a very, I mean, you dissected my life and picked up snippets. All of them are very loaded questions. Yeah. And
I don't want to lose anything. I want to draw out everything that's there on Dr. Parthasarathy.
yeah, absolutely. So the first, so it's a very interesting and very good question. So if reflect on that, and I also use some of this English to make sure that I'm reflecting on what your question. The first
Sure.
thing that that I learned as I went through, that thrilling, pulling or feeling ke siwa life mein hai kya. So this is an Hindi quote that I have developed. So what, men, women, and empathy. Beyond that, what is there in the world? So I realized that if I looked after my people, if I understood them, they will always deliver superior results. Okay, let me give an example.
Yeah.
I was in transformation. That was my first role. And when they asked me, what about your team? And I said, we have got some people from outside already you have recruited. Can I get the balance of the team from the local team? And
Right.
can we ask our business units to give us some, so
Right.
that we can have people from that walk itself, so that they can go back to those units and kind of help us, all of us, progress. We call that program Vishwajit.
I see. Okay.
Conquering the world. Yeah. So because the way Davasya had put it to me to welcome me to Mahindra is, there are many opportunities. How about an opportunity of Indian company being world number one? So
Okay.
which was in tractors. Okay.
Right.
So so we called it Vishwajit, keeping that in mind. So we got assembled a team. And then I looked at this team which was assembled. As I had no illusions and I was not naive by any chance.
Right.
So, but I was a little shocked by the type of people that we had got. I always knew that people will only give what they can spare.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
But and I looked, we had something called exceeding expectations, superior performance, good, needs improvement, and unsatisfactory. So I didn't get anybody above good. Okay, so good was my best.
That you got.
So I called everyone and I said, what was yesterday doesn't define me. I've seen your reports and I've seen everything, but nothing defines. I have perfect faith that you're going to create history. And you and me together are going to create history. And if you think that it is me who is going to do it, you've got it wrong. It's you who is going to do it, but I'm going to be there all the way with you. Okay. And believe me that the people even today talk about that, how that was a change in their life. I don't think many of them were ever again satisfied with a good in their life. They always wanted to see either superior or exceeded expectations.
Right.
And it was a great thing to see how belief can change people. So feeling, pulling, and feeling. And what I was, trying to encourage them was to think, and I also realized that I can't be a winner by myself. I am the sum total of all the people that I have.
That's right.
That was the first thing. Stealing, pulling or feeling ke siva life mein hai kya?
Sure, sure.
The other I realized it related to this, and I'll come. There is no bad subordinate, only a bad boss. Most of the time we curse our subordinates. I want to tell all the bosses out there, think again. There is no bad subordinate, only a bad boss. So you are perfectly to blame because you have to carve out.
Right.
Yeah. One of the options is always to sack or to let the person go. Nobody is saying that its arsenal is not with you. But more often than not, just for showing the right path.
Right.
It makes people winners. So, and I thought I found that as a path. So I can say, along with stealing, pulling, and feeling, as I keep this in mind, no bad subordinate, only a bad boss.
That's right.
The other two things that I want to leave behind is something called one-third philosophy. Whenever you look at any of the business or anything that you do, recognize the three things which will be the success factors. So as I looked at international, I realized it will be the product I choose, it will be the distributor I choose, and the third I knew it was the company I've already chosen. Yeah. So the two, so I found that the distributor is such a great thing, and the product I will choose for that market is such a big thing that if I make a mistake in this two, it's going to be a failure. So we spent enormous amount of time. In fact, I flew out distributor into India and free paid so that you see our factory, you see everything. And then if you want to sign up on my distributorship, you can sign up. And most of them did. Most of them did. But the key thing was that we were making them believe that we are so confident about ourselves that we're willing to give you a free ticket to come and see.
I think
our
that did the
quality.
trick.
Yeah.
That did the trick.
Yeah. Okay. So and that did. So please think about the one-third philosophy. In M&A, many of my success I relate to the fact that I thought about teams one-third which will be there for the M&A, one-third which will be there for the first 100 days so that the integration can happen, and one-third of the team will actually go into the new company that we are acquiring. So we had formed the team so that when you are acquiring, all the business plan are made by this one-third team. So that when they are going into the new company, nobody is debating कि ये सही है कि नहीं है strategy. So they are not they are not firing guns at others saying that all the plans that you guys made were wrong. They were very clear that from day one that we have to make it success. So like that. So use that one-third philosophy that I will kind of talk to them.
So this is amazing, and so of course these three together uh, have helped. But for me, what really stands out is your ability to develop this self-belief in people that you can do a lot more than you think you can do. And I think this communication that your past doesn't define you was a masterclass on building that self-belief. My compliments to you, and no wonder they went on to do what they did with you under your leadership. So in this current phase of your career, where at one end you are there in number of boards and you contribute there, and of course your work with Seva. So what is the aspiration now in this phase as you continue your inning?
Thank you. It's a very important decision for me to make. I was at 58 and I had 4 more years to go in Mahindra officially. Okay.
Right.
62 is the retirement time for me.
Right.
Then who knows? You could have more or not have more. So let's call it 4 plus.
Okay.
4 plus of productive time available. And I was just wondering, at the cusp of it, whether I'm doing enough to give back because as far as society is concerned, it has helped me get where I am. As I said, I was thrown out by into the big bad world to go and find our own destiny. My father started the journey and I followed him. But and many people helped us. I didn't know Hindi, somebody taught me Hindi. I was weak at maths, somebody taught me maths. Somebody taught me that first rules of how to, be in the corporate world. So all this, there were so many people who helped without looking in this. One time we landed up in Jabalpur without having even a quarters. The soldier who was accompanied us in the train realized that these people had no place to stay. So he took us to his house and said, till you get your own house, this is your house. And he was a bachelor. So he moved on to his friends. And we stayed there the whole time that we were in Jabalpur. Okay. So those are the kind of things that has happened to me. To us. So I said, fast forward good deeds. So we can't go back and thank them or do anything. But we do. So is it time when I have my hands and feet that I should do it? So with that in mind, I said, okay, now I should take early retirement and then I'll focus my work on social side. So the seva and one more, which I'll talk about, became the lifeline or the reason why I quit. I told Anand Mahindra that this is my path of, path of my passion right now. Flight of passion, as it's called. So I would like to try this. I don't know whether I'll succeed or not, but I would learn to give it a try when I still have my hands and feet. Maybe I'll work till 65, but I don't know whether I have the enthusiasm or anything to do after that. So I want to do it now. And so this is my background to at 58 of stepping away from corporate world into this. So I got into Seva and I said I'll be an overall advisor. I'll be a director on a couple of their companies. And actually help, various branches within Seva. Who kind of became so that they can corporatize the social world so that it's more sustainable. Okay, so this is the broad thesis. And in the process, if out of 2.5 million members which they have, at least 100,000, I'm able to impact for full employment, full entrepreneurship, I think I would have done a human service. So this was what my fundamental thesis was, and that's what I've done. Started on this journey. I'm not sure I'm yet there, but this is a journey which is as difficult as any other journey that I've taken. But I'm also sure with the people, we will accomplish this as well. So this is the first part of it. Similarly, there is one more thought process: how to give 100 million health days back to India. Health days. What basically it means is that every individual, especially poor, has twice the number of sick days as compared to a middle class or a rich person. The reason is they are all having this dysentery, cholera, all those things which come from unhealthy sanitation and various other things. Diabetic being one of them, big ones. So if we can somehow reduce, I mean, it is said that this one rich people are 30 days unwell in a year. This is about 75 days for poor. Yeah. So if we can cut down at least 30 days out of that for even the poor people by doing something, then we can return 100 million days, health days back to India. It should improve the productivity of India by some fold. Sure. These are the two big thought process that we're working on. So that's the social. That's why I'm doing that. So the key thing is, if we do some of this, will it give lasting benefit to the one is women? They need the rightful place. And if we enable them to stand on them and give equity and equality, Can they increase GDP of India? The next doubling
Right.
of GDP. Can
That's
it
right.
be the women who will do it? So it is not by any ulterior motive of helping them. No, it is helping them find their true
Sure,
potential. And
sure.
similarly, health. If we do
Uh,
this, then it will be such a big deal. So this is the big thought process behind what I'm doing.
Right.
May fail, but so be it. But it will not be a small dream that I'm chasing to fail. The other part is in terms of अगर घोड़ा घास से दोस्ती कर लेगा तो खाएगा so so I went about finding myself some directorship roles where I can bring better governance or bring IPO. Some of them were IPOable companies which I'm doing, and also bring in the finance and the CFO and CIO roles topics that I did. So I have, like NIIT, Learning Systems, Penna, over and above LIC as listed. I also have companies which are on the IPO path.
Okay.
Three or four of them. And there are some startups also that I mentor. And
Right.
and like, for example, I am Mumbai. I'm very passionate
Yes.
to kind of, first Niti to I am Mumbai conversion. And now that the conversion has happened, how do we take it ahead and make it the financial oriented IAM, which is kind of in the world. Yeah. So just like a
Those are
financial capital needs financial kind of.
Sure.
So that kind of a thought process. So that's what I'm doing. The third part is I'm mentoring people who are not can't afford. That it helps them. So just broadly, the 1/3 philosophy works here as well.
So this is amazing. I think this 1/3 philosophy, there are no bad employees, only bad bosses. Yeah, all these are absolutely quotable ones, and you have kind of brought them to life by your own work. So this is wonderful. Now, the last one, and actually, I only hope it's a fair question, because there is almost everything that you've done, there is something that stands out. But yet, if you were to choose among various accomplishments to your credit, what is it that you will be kind of more proud of, relatively speaking, and why?
Basically, this is time for a little bit of mukhastuti, praise about self.
Okay. Yes.
But I am always said that I'm not great, so
Okay.
I won't be very shy. Yeah. So one of my HR heads used to say, there is a quote which says, "Don't be too modest because you aren't so great." Yeah.
Yes.
So I ain't so great, so I won't be so modest. So basically what we did in farm equipment sector, which is where I joined, the tractor company. So we did that task that you talked about, cost.
Right.
So what happened because of what we set in motion is that we were able to get into an ROCE for that business, which was in 3 digits, 100%.
Right.
Okay. So, and that ROCE at 100% became such a passion for people, saying that we will not let go of this. We found the Mool Mantra, we will continue to get hold of this and do this. So it continued since then, 2002 to 2022, and maybe it will continue for this. How about a legacy which says that 100% ROCE for so I think about this and I said, wow, I would be very happy. I always am very happy about what I did. Another way to kind of say is that, and I realized that when Anand Mahindra mentioned this, In 2002 to 2018, the Sensex, the best performing stock in the Nifty was Mahindra
I
stock,
see.
and which was an 18% compounded rate over that long period of time. And there is no other company which had that kind of rating. And it's great. I mean, you played a part in it. Okay.
Sure.
So that was going and saying that we were never anything to write about in international market. But, I went, made it 30x, and we were 20% of our revenue comes from international market. We are the world number one. We are a Deming company. We are JQM. So it feels very proud to say that, I was part of all this accomplishment.
Sure.
The AAA, in fact, even when I went to the board of Mahindra and said, we need AAA. So he said, no, but milega nahi auto company ko. Auto companies are never given AAA. So, oh yeah, so that's a challenge, yeah. So and then we went about getting AAA, which is still now continues.
I see.
So it's a AAA company, and right from I enjoyed saying it was there for 6 years with me. So it's more another 6. So maybe we are coming close to a decade of AAA.
Yes.
So this is another big deal.
Yes.
We launched a 500 crore 50-year bullet repayment bond. And basically what it means is I will not pay you back the money at all in 50 years. After 50 years, we'll return you. In the meantime, we'll pay you interest.
Okay.
So who will buy such a bond? Because most of the bonds, even government buys, our government offers are all resettable after 5 years. There is a call option. There is a put option. There's always some options to add cash. But I was telling them, bet on Mahindra being there 50 years from now, not just alive and kicking, but thriving. And they bet on it.
Sure.
I think that's a big victory to say that we have put institution in front in the eyes of other people. So in all this, you will find that the great achievement. So I would like to take pride in all of them. And for some of the awards, like you pointed out, came from them. I keep joking with my team that I'll keep the awards, you keep all the accolades. Yeah. So, but to come back and say that when you realize the depth of this, you realize this award is actually your ability to believe people. How do you go and do an international market where you don't know what international is all about? Yeah. So and those are the people who taught me. There are people, and in fact, I used to call Pradeep ji, aap bataiye kya karna chahiye. So I'm learning from them. So it's been people who have done that. So I realized in all this that what I said, that the people are the thing, and self-belief, like you rightly said. And if anything, then you have to be the Nilkant. Sometimes you have to drink the poison, so that like the Lord drank the poison and his throat is blue, and therefore he's called Nilkant. So in the organization, there has to be Nilkants. Maybe sometimes you have to be the Nilkant so that your team can perform and thrive.
Sure.
Be the Nilkant is fine, but it is the team which is done that. So many achievements, but I'll be foolish to think that I did it. I am very happy to acknowledge that I was part of the team which did.
You enabled the teams to do it, no questions about that. And this is simply amazing. In every role, the kind of enabling context you created for your people to do things that they possibly had not done in the past. Something comes out very consistently, whether it is in the cost leadership, whether it is in international operations, whether it is in M&A, where you had a relatively small team that grew into such a big kind of a part of the strategy. And actually, pretty much everything now, your contribution to Seva 100 million, health days and you know the rest of it. The absolutely an inspiring journey, Parthasarathy Saab. And I wish you continue this for a very, very long time. Society stands to benefit very significantly from the likes of you. People who many times or rather sometimes in corporate sector don't get to utilize their full potential. I think they get to do it when the likes of you are leading them. So you know, I hope I speak for everyone who is here. It's been inspiring having this conversation with you, and thank you so much. And I'll be in touch. You know, there's so much to learn from you, from the kind of work you are doing. Thank you very much indeed, sir.
Thank
Thank you,
you so
everybody.
much. Thank you, Pramodji, for inviting me, and thank you for asking all the insightful questions. And if I have given an impression that I did everything, I want to once again dispel that notion. It is people who do it, and you're good to be at the right place at the right time with the right kind of mental makeup to get the best out of people.
That's the mark of a leader, Partha Sahab. Thanks very much, and thanks to each one of you who joined. And we look forward to having you in the future sessions as well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Partha Sahab. Thank you.